Alright, okay, we seem to be live. I'm not much fun for this, but if it helps, we'll give it a whirl for you. We're servicing the AZ EQ6. See, it's bog standard. Alright, so I'm not used to doing these videos, so bear with me and we'll see what we can do. First job, take the side cover off. Reveal the belt drives. 4 little screws, you need a Phillips screwdriver. Hopefully I can keep my hands out of the way so you can see what's going on. Four screws, there we go. So I've had a lot of interest on the channel about this, so I thought I'd show you how to do it complete. Take the cover off and you'll see the motors and the belt drives. Okay, we're going to need to remove those. What we got are 2 screws or 3 screws that hold the motor. Okay, 4mm Allen key. Just loosen them off. That will loosen the motor and you can take the belt off. Alright, there we go. Both motors. I hope you can see this. Look. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not used to doing these videos, so you'll have to bear with me. Slacken them off. Make sure the motor goes forward and the belts will just pull off. Put them somewhere safe. Come on. Come on. That's it. Wonderful. Right, next task. We're going to split the mount down. What you want to do to start with, which is very important on the AZs, in here you'll see a little silver cover. Okay. 2 little screws hold it on. You're going to remove this cover. And underneath, you will see, I'll get the cover off. So, just get rid of that. Give me some clearance. I need to lift this cover off of here. Of course, this is going to be a total pain. Come on, thank you. And you will see under there, it's very clear, but that is your secondary encoders. You must unplug it before you do anything else. Alright, unplug that, and then that wire can go back through that hole. Okay. Right. Spin that up that way so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to do exactly the same on the RA. They're a bit fiddly to get out, but just do it nice and gently. That's it. And again, unplug the wire from the encoder. Otherwise, when you pull it to bits, you'll rip them off and it'll just cost you money. Right, first thing we do is we'll take out the deck, you'll need a 2mm Allen key, right? And if you look in the collar where you lock your weight bar, you'll see 3 holes. Very important. Okay, put your Allen key in there, and inside there's a grub screw. And you need to take those grub screws right out. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that, guys. Show you. Right. Take those grub screws. I mean, some people say leave them in. I say take them right out. Then there's no chance of anything fouling up and causing any problems. Alright. So, 1, 2. Alright. Make sure they are all out. For some reason, I think they're been missing one here. It's interesting. Ah, there it goes. That's it. Once you've got those 3 out, this will unscrew, he says. There we go. Obviously slacking this off so your weight bar's loose. Then you can just unscrew that. Those grub screws lock into this thread. I'll show you that in a minute I get it off. Okay. Unscrew that. Take it off into there. Right. Now those grub screws, I'll show you this, actually lock onto this thread. And if you don't take them out, there's actually a groove in it for them. If you don't take that out, you'll destroy your mount. Okay, you can now unscrew the clutch. Take that right off. Under there is a bearing, which you'll soon see. Okay. Right. Oh, let me spin that right that way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there's a bearing in there. Simple as that. Right. On the top, you have 4 locking Allen keys which hold this bit. Take them out. See that? Hopefully you can see that. You know where the 4 are, you can see them at the top, they hold the worm gear. And the last one's up there. Okay. Go back to your 2mm Allen screw, key rather, and you need to back off the adjusting Allen screws when you use to set up the backlash. just back him right off. One at the top as well, as you'll know. I'll show you that. One there as well. Can I show you that? Should be able to. Oh. You know where they are. If you've got to this stage, this one here at the top. There you go. Just slacken it off. And that's it. Okay. Now you can just pull this straight out, the whole thing complete. Okay. Ease it out. And that is your deck axis off. This is your drive. So your worm and pinions. Oop. Now, let me show you inside here. This, as you can see, this is the wire that was on your secondary encoder, and this is the top bearing. Okay, that will just ease off and come out. You get a bit of clean tissue to put this stuff on. So put that somewhere safe. That runs on 2 steel plates. Alright, it's one above it, one below it. Okay, so take them off. The other one is in here, sitting on top of the worm gear. That needs to come off. Okay. And the problem with these, you'll find, is, let me just disappear a minute. I get that screwdriver and leave that off. That's it. Okay. Come on. There you go. Right, now that's off as well. What happens is these clutches will seize up. See? Because people do them up too tight. I lift that back up. The worm housing will just lift off there. And you can set that to one side because you're going to degrease all that in a minute. Okay. Now we come to the deck. Rather the AZ side of it. Just clean your hands. First job, remove the podoscope. Alright, just unscrews. Okay, there you go. Just unscrew straight out, unscrew it, put it somewhere safe. Next thing, just back that off a touch. This is the clutch lock for the RA. Take it, just loosen it off, and you can take that out. Right, now, very, very important. What you need to do, take your 2mm Allen key again, and you'll find that these have a hole in them. One of these does have a hole. There it is. Now, if you turn the RA axis, keep that collar still, you'll feel that drop into a lock and Allen key inside that hole. Again, vitally important you take these out. Okay. Right, if you want a little tip here for taking these out, right, before you take them out, if you just dip the end of your Allen key in some grease, it will actually stick into the top of that rub screw. So when you take it out, and not guarantee this is going to work, it should stick to your Allen key. Alright, so you pop that in here, Put that back in that hole, and again turn this, but keep the collar still. Rotate it round, and you are going to find, oh, there's another one there. Why they have to hide them up like this, I have no idea, but I suppose it's the only way they could do it. Again, remove it. That's two. Put back in your hole. Rotate again. Okay, that's number three. If I remember rightly, there's four of them in here. So be very careful, wind it all the way around, make sure you've got them all out. Otherwise you're going to have all sorts of problems. There's one there. One there. One there. Oh, there's three. Okay. Once you've got them out, you can unscrew this. And what you need here, let me find. It's a large pair of circuit pliers. Alright, in the bottom under here, I don't know if I can show you this, but there's a collar with holes in. You're going to undo this collar, this black collar. Alright, put that in there, and that will have just undo. Once you've loosened it off, screwdriver in, and just undo it. And then you get, that comes out with a bearing on the top, so be careful with that. Okay, that's it. Alright, you can either do this two ways, but this will just lift out now. Okay, come on. Ooh. Very gently. Come on. Oh, there we go. And that's the deck axis out. Same setup as before. Oh, that's pretty grimy. Alright, this is your clutch. Again, but we're going to take. Ooh. Just move that stuff out of the way. So this, I'm trying to use my laptop for a camera. Again, 4 screws. Can you see that? Yeah. To remove the worm gear. This is where we get to see the clutch. It really isn't very good, that. the 4 screws out. Again, with your 2mm Allen key, you loosen off your adjusting grub screws. And then your worm gear will lift clear, being careful of your encoder wire. Okay, it's got to go back through that little hole. Okay, you've also got on this one, I can show you another encoder on the thing, unplugged. Can you see that? Yeah, you've got another encoder here. Just unplug that one as well, and it will come off. And there we go. Now we need to get the clutch plate off of here. Can you see that? It's actually jammed on there, absolutely solid, and it shouldn't be. There we go. There we go. You can lift that off. That's fine. Not really that good, that. Right, again, you got your bearings. You can lift them out. As you can see that. We'll wash them up in a minute. Okay. It's interesting. And basically, that's your mount stripped down. Not very nice, that. Not very nice at all. Right. Just have a look. Okay. Let me just put it back up a bit. There we go. Right. You can't see. Let me just bring this down. What we're going to do is just going to lift the worm wheel off there. Hopefully. There it goes. Okay, that should RA worm drive. Again, there's a plate, bearing, right, and another plate. Should be. I'll use a little screwdriver again. Come on. There we go. Alright. So, we can clean all this up. Okay. Right. Clean the threads. The bearing running surfaces. Alright. Just make sure everything's spotlessly clean from the old grease. Alright. Give the bearings a wipe in here. So we're going to re-grease those. And the other end. Now, if I was doing this as a full service, I would actually pull these bearings out and degrease them, but this is just a sort of interim service as the mount was running a bit rough. So we'll go. Right, we'll clean up the worm wheel. Have a good look at it while you're doing it, make sure there's no damage. Okay. So, let's have another clean bit of tissue. Right. Let's have those bearings cleaned in now. Let me just come back up so you can see what I'm doing. Clean these bearings out in here. They're pretty stiff. You can do with a lot of grease. Good. In the bottom of here, bearings aren't that good. So we'll have a look at this later. Okay. Right. Come back down. So you can see what I'm doing again. Right. We're going to rebuild this now. Look at that, stay still. I think that'll be a no then. There you go. Take your steel washers that the bearings run on, give them a good clean. Again, inspect them for any damage. Alright. Okay, we're going to put a touch of grease on the back. We drop that back over there, like that. Okay. You see where I'm going here? No. Okay, take your bearing, again, clean it, inspect it, make sure it's all free and easy and you know what to look for. Okay, and again, using a lightweight grease. You don't need a heavy old grease in here because once the winter gets here, it's going to be turning to sort of sticky tar. So use a lightweight grease. See what I'm doing. Grease that bearing up. Okay. Right, once you're all greased up, drop him on the top of that. And you have the other washer, which is there. You see that? Yeah. Yeah, just inspect it, make sure there's no real damage on it. Another coat of grease. And then that sits over the top of that bearing, like that. Right. Next is your worm. Again, so just a good look at it. Okay. And then that will drop back in there. Like that. Make sure it just sits in that. It's a snug old fit. That's it. There you go. And then that will sit on there and run smoothly on there. Okay. Right. Okay, now what I do is I lay that on its side. Make sure everything's out of the way. Find something to sit that on. There you go. Okay, back to your grease. Can you see this? Yep. So I've got to check what the camera's looking at. And just run the grease into that. Okay. Fill the teeth up. Don't worry about excess grease getting anywhere. It's not going to hurt anything. And go right round it. So it's completely full. Nice, fresh grease. Okay. Got to come over to the worm gear. As you can see it here. And again, it needs to be cleaned. All grease. Old grease, that is. Right. Can you see that? Yeah. Where do I hold it? There you go. Literally just hold the cloth on it and spin, and you'll clean all that old grease off. Alright. You'll get through a lot of paper doing this, but worth it. Okay. That's all there, so nice and clean. Right. Back to the pot of grease. And we're going to just fill that up with new grease. There we go. That is that. Right, clean your hands. We're going to put this back together. Okay, so we stand that up. See this. This is going to drop back on there. First thing you need to do is plug the encoder in. Alright. It'll only go in one way. Make sure it's in. And this, your secondary encoder wire, right, goes through this hole to come back to plug into the other one. Alright. Make sure you get him on, otherwise all strange things will happen when you start your mount up again. That sits on there, and that can go onto there. Okay, you just need to drop your 4 bolts back in. And that, and we're just going to very loosely tighten it up. Come on. Hang on. It's got a wire caught there. Goodness sake, don't let that happen. Go down in there. gonna well, okay. Right, there we go. So just take them in lightly. Don't need to do them up there. We'll do that when we set the right. So there, nice clean bit of cloth again. What we're going to do, we'll just clean any excess grease off of the drive. A little bit on there is not going to hurt. Okay, and what you're going to do then is put the clutch plate, which suffered a bit of abuse in its time. It's just going to sit back on there like that. Okay, while you're at this stage, what we're going to do is we're going to pop this cover back onto here. Can you see that? I mean, normally when I strip these down, I would actually take the cover off at this stage, but I did it at the start of this just to show you what was underneath. Stop you making what could be an expensive error. But normally I would strip this mount completely down and then take this cover off. Okay, that's it. Alright, let's just come back up again. Okay, let's give it some of that rubbish. Right, back to the grease. I'm going to grease the bearings up in here because they look pretty bloody dry. Work it right into them. I think next time I do a full service on this, I'm going to be replacing these bearings. Alright, don't forget the bottom one. Okay, again, work the grease right into it. Really not the best of bearings then. Okay, once you've done that, this little lot can just drop back in. Just have a look at this. Right. Now this literally will just drop back in for you. Well, okay, make sure it all lines up. There we go. Oh, now it's just the plate to come off there. See how nice and free that is. Okay, we're going to do the same to the bottom bearings. Okay, we'll clean the plates up. grease over here. So light coating of grease on there, and that will sit up inside there. Can you see that? Yeah. Alright, like that. Again, bearing, get rid of all the old grease off it. Okay. Again, nice healthy dose of grease. Alright, both sides. Again, sealing washer. And that slides up inside there and locates over those threads. Okay, and with all the grease on there, it should just stay. Right. Taking your block. Look at it. I'm going to clean the grease off of there. Alright. 4 holes on the outside. That and now just screw back into there. Okay. I think I've lost my little screwdriver. Okay, use a little screw, I just wind it in. And this needs to be reasonably tight but not overdo it. Again, I use circlip pliers. Okay. Do that up. That needs to be nice and free. Okay. Right. We need to go back to our 2mm Allen key. We're going to put these Allen screws back in here to lock it. Again, you need to find the hole in it. It's somewhere there. There it is. Right, there's a hole there. Again, grub screw in the hole, and you're just going to very gently screw it in. So this will lock on this. What this is actually doing, right, this will lock on this plate that you've just screwed in here. And when you do the clutch up, it pulls that plate down and forces the clutch plate, which was inside here. If you remember, there's a clutch plate on the back of the drive. It actually forces it out and locks the clutch. Okay, so again, do it round. There's the next hole. Okay, screwing in. Right, just nipping up. And go around and try to find the last hole. There it is. screws in there. Nip them up. Let's go around them again. Make sure they're nipped up. And that is it. Now when you screw this up, put your handle in. Like I said, this will screw out against this. Just, whoop. So, and it locks the clutch. As yours. That goes up there. So that forces out against that and it'll lock that clutch. But that's nice and free. Do it up tight and it's locked up. Okay. Time for the other one. Let me just sort of sort out again. Okay. Let's move this down again. Here we go. Again, you can lift that off. And you've got exactly the same setup under here. Again, remove. Drive. Under there you have the clutch. Oh, can you see that clutch? The clutch plate again. Okay. Again, clean this. Make sure there's no sort of nasty surprises. I don't know what those two little divots are in there, but there we go. Make sure that's absolutely spotless again. Okay. See again. Okay, peel that off. Then clean the clutch plate. Very gently, they're a bit delicate. Okay. The clutch plate will go back over that. And there. Again. Over there. Clean all the old grease off of this. So if I was doing a major sort of service on this, I would wash all this out in a degreasing tank, but I don't really have time for that today. Again, make sure that is absolutely clean on there. Okay. But that, again, is going to drop on there, but before we do that, because it's easier this one, we're going to fill this up with grease. You see that? Yeah. Okay. There we go. Right. That goes on flat side down, right? You've got a flat side and a recessed side, and that goes on flat side down on the clutch plate. Okay. Give that a wipe. Again, we're going to take the grease off of this worm gear. So it's clean. Okay. And then we're going to load it back up with grease. There we go. Right. So, okay. Excuse me. Again. Better bring you back up here. Hang on. We're going to load these up with grease, these bearings. I'll do that clutch. Spin that over. Can load that one up. Okay. Right. Okay, now we're going to drop that back in. And again, very carefully. See the encoder. It's got wire has got to come through that hole. Alright, so we just drop that on there. In fact, you can actually, if you want, put that on there first, but we don't. Come on, thank you. Just drop that in, lock that off. Come on. There we go. Okay. And the encoder wire comes back up through that hole. Come on. As you can see, it's a bit fiddly. There we go. Come on. There it goes. Right. Locate everything back in. Come on. There we go. Should be good. Sent. Yep. If anybody wants to spot my deliberate mistake there. Oh, come on. Have that back out. Come on. Okay. We've got to put the bearing back in. Okay. Alright. Grease him up. Bearing clean. Getting ahead of himself there, you see. Easily done. Loads of grease on. Alright. The bearing sits on there. Then you have the other large washer, if you like. Not a little concerned there. Right. Grease sits on top of that. In actual fact, what I'm going to do this time, I will put that through that hole. Right. That is, and that can sit on there. We're going to plug that in. You can actually put these bolts in very loosely. Okay. You see what I'm doing? So okay. Okay. Nice and loose. Oh, that's it. I'm going to put that encoder cover back on as well while we're here. Okay, and that can now all just slot back into there. Okay, oh, there we go. Just need to make sure these are loose. That will just hopefully go. Just slacken these off again. I'll just drop the Allen key. Okay, you're going to be a pain. There it goes. Right. That's it. Right. That's it. We're now in. Okay. And put the screws back in. That's it. Again, only lightly. Right, we're going to come around to this side of the operation. What is it? No, it's on there. Okay, right. I'll just wipe that off. Okay, again. Right, well, you can see, clean the bearings off. The steel washer again. Clean it off. Light touch of grease. I keep forgetting where the camera is on here, so if you keep missing stuff, I apologise. Okay, washer goes on. Again, plenty of grease in the bearing. Bearing goes on there. That. And the other steel washer. Go on to there. Right. There we have the clutch. Just going to screw onto there. And again, it works exactly the same. Remember the clutch plate on the top of the pinion wheel. This does exactly the same thing as the RA. As you screw this up against the bearing, it pulls the whole shaft down against the clutch and locks the clutch in. Alright, so just flatten that off, nice and free. Right, take your block with the weights. Again, 3 holes, go to the top, and that will screw back up onto there. Okay. This will screw up against that. It will just lock in, basically, like that. Back to your little Allen key. Put your 3 grub screws back into here. You see that? And I will lock against that. Threads in there. Last one. Back in there, okay. That's it. So basically when you screw that up again, it locks the clutch. And there we go. Right. That out of the way. Or paper towel. So just make sure everything. Wipe the excess grease off. Right. Now we're going to start taking the backlash out. We'll start with the deck. You lock that off. Obviously there's going to be a ton of backlash in. You should know by now how these screws work. If not, I'll just run through it. It's a push-pull system. As you screw this one in on the top, it moves the whole carriage for the worm and pinion gear up and tightens it against the worm. It'll tighten this worm up against the drive. It's the easiest way I can describe it. All you need to do is you need to just gently take that in until it touches, and then you can just give it a little twist. Alright, you need to just nip these up. Let me spin that round so you can see what I'm doing. 4 main locking bolts, just nip them up, not overly tight, just nip them up. Okay. Okay. Just lock the clutch up. You can see if there's any rock in there, and there isn't actually. It's gone too much. And you just adjust these screws backwards and forwards until you eliminate the backlash. You just wind that one in so it locks against there. I will actually set this up properly once I get it back on the mount. But you'll get the idea. Right, and then we'll do the same with it. Alright, we'll just pinch those up. Just see what I'm doing. Just pinch them up. Okay. Now if I bring that back and lock the clutch off, you'll see how much backlash is in it. So we'll just screw this one in. Again, backlash is just, it's trial and error, because you might have tight spots in the mount, and I think it's the bugbear of everybody's life. But like I said, trial and error, you'll get there in the end. We just start taking that up. don't want these done up too tight, otherwise it won't move. There you go, nearly gone. And that's the backlash right out. Again, it's just temporary till I get it back on the mount, then I'll do it properly. But it shows you how to do it. Then obviously once you've got it right, you can just lock these off and it won't move again. Okay, put that one there, let's clean that out. See how it moves. Make sure they all move. Okay. That one's a bit tight. Well, you get the idea. I've got, you know, I will spend hours doing. There you go. It's free as a bird now. I will spend hours doing this, setting this all up. So last thing you need to do, so it's all nice and clean. Put your belts back on. Drop that over there. You can put that on and just wind it around and that'll drop on. Now, these belts don't need to be that tight. They've got fairly deep teeth on them. And if you do them up too tight, you will literally just introduce problems into your mount. So basically all I use is a screwdriver against this, ease it back a touch, and you just lock them off. Can you see that? Yeah. Right, this needs to have a bit of play in here. Right, again, right in there, just ease that back gently. I'm not putting any pressure on it, I'm not forcing it. Get a bit of play in there. Make sure they're nice and free. You have your cover plate. Which drops back onto there. With your 4 screws. And the last one. Like I say, I'm not too sort of clever at doing these videos, but if it helps people out, then great. What we need to do finally is clean out under here, clean out the threads. Okay, and then we can put the Podoscope back in. Okay, And then basically it's just got to go back in the observatory, back on the pier, and also I will spend a couple of hours probably playing with the backlash, but as you can see, we're back up. Hopefully a nice, free, easy mount. Well, I hope that's been of use to somebody out there. And you know, you get any problems, you can always drop me a line, email me through the channel, and I'll do my best to help sort you out. So there it is, servicing an AZ EQ6. Thank you. I don't know how to stop this, but see, I told you I was rubbish at this. I don't even know how to stop it. Is that stop it? Skip. I don't know how to stop this.